Improve it. Improve it.
Podcast.
Improve it, peeps. Welcome back to the Improve It podcast. I'm Erin Diehl. I am the founder of the professional development company Improve It, the chief edutainment officer, your host, and I am a new author. I wrote a book in February of 2024. It's an Amazon bestseller, a top new release, and it's called I See You, a leader's guide to energizing your team through radical empathy. Now, if you've clicked play on the show, you're like, hey, I want to hear more about how I can use professional development through play. And that's exactly what we do at Improve It. Our purpose at the company I founded, that is women-owned, women-ran, we love our male facilitators, is to elevate you to work through play. Not just work through play, but elevate how you work through play. We are an improv-infused development company for a new generation of work. Now, you, my friend, you, the amazing human who hit play on this episode, are a leader in some regard. You may lead a home, you may lead a team, you may lead a community, you may lead an organization, an association, but you care about the people that you lead. That's the difference. You don't just lead, you care deeply about the people and how you lead. And you care so deeply that you want to make sure that you are touching their lives using outside of the box methodologies, using creative methodologies. And that's why you have landed right here. Now, today's show, how can Yes and transform your team's brainstorming sessions, is so good. It is the tenet of improv comedy, this idea of yes and. So we are changing the format of the show a little bit. It's a little bit of Dear Abby mixed with some improv infused answers and solutions. So we have reached out to our amazing Improve It Peeps community asking for questions. Some come in form of written questions and some come in the form of speak pipe audio clips. Today, I have a written question from one of our amazing peeps in Chicago, and let me read this to you now. It says, "Hi, Erin. This is Lisa from Chicago. I love your podcast and find your insights incredibly helpful. I'm reaching out because my team is really struggling with brainstorming sessions. Every time we sit down to generate ideas, it feels as if we've hit a wall. There's a lot of silence, and when ideas do come up, they're usually not very innovative or they get shot down quickly. How can I foster a more creative and open-minded environment for brainstorming in our meetings?" Lisa from Chicago. First of all, thank you for the love. I received that. Second of all, I hear you. And that's exactly what I'm going to teach you here today is all about. Helping the people around you speak up so that they feel seen, heard, and valued. I also want to say and dare to say that all of us have been Lisa at some point in our careers or in our personal lives. We've all had those sessions or meetings where there's silence and it feels awkward and you could hear a pin drop. And if somebody's chair moves, you think they farted. And it's just like, oh my God, why is this so cringy awkward, right? And what happens in those is that people feel silenced and no ideas come up at all because they have a fear of being shot down. And typically when they do speak up and the dictator or the leader leading the meeting shoots it down and somebody else is the first guinea pig to be shot down, you're like, I'm not going after her. I'm not going to do that. So if you have been in this scenario, which I dare to say all of us have at some point, you know what it feels like. It sucks. It just sucks. And it sucks the life and the energy out of the meeting. It sucks the life and the energy and the motivation out of the team. How many of you, or how about you right now, because I'm just talking to you, but have you been in a meeting like this month? Put one finger on your hand if you've been like this in a meeting this month. whatever month you're listening to. Give yourself a thumb or a pinky on your hand. Okay. Have you been in a meeting like this week? Give yourself another finger on your hand. Have you been in a meeting like this day, today? Give yourself another hand. That could be 3 fingers that you're holding up, my friend. And that's 3 too many, in my opinion. Honestly, this is such a normal question that we actually get a lot because we are a company that trains on collaboration and team building and allowing people to feel seen, heard, and valued. So we do have a way and a solution, and it's an improv-based, backed by truth and science way of brainstorming. It is called Yes and. Now, I'm going to give you my definition of yes and then I'm going to give you the scientific definition so you hear both the heart and the brain talk in here. My definition of yes and is this: allowing others to postpone judgment of themselves, to postpone judgment of others, to make people feel seen, heard, and valued, and as if there is a sign around their neck that says, make me feel important. It is a tool that allows everyone in the same room to be on the same page. If a CEO and an intern are brainstorming in a session, neither one of them has rank. We are all simultaneously brainstorming using this positive stream of content to make things happen. That's yes and. Here's what science says. The yes and principle from improv comedy is incredibly effective in brainstorming, and there's science to back it up. Studies show that when team members adopt a yes and mindset, they create a more supportive and collaborative environment. This principle encourages participants to accept and build on each other's ideas rather than dismissing them. And specifically, research from the University of California, Berkeley found that teams practicing this approach generate more creative and higher quality ideas. By promoting an open, accepting atmosphere, yes and reduces the fear of judgment, which is a significant barrier to creativity. This allows for free flow of ideas, leading to more innovative solutions. So by incorporating yes and into your brainstorming sessions, you can foster a more inclusive and creative environment where all ideas are welcome and expanded upon. Thank you, ChatGPT. Thank you. That was from ChatGPT, and I needed to give you the brain and I needed to give you the heart because that's how people learn. But I'm going to just straight up tell you, it changes lives. Okay, let me just give you this free 99 advice. Yes and is the foundation that Improve It was built on. Yes and is the foundation that every workshop or keynote that we have or create or any piece of content that we have that is created is brainstormed on, implemented, and executed. I have been privileged for the past 10 years to lead this team and to create a team of like-minded individuals. This is a core value at Improve It. It's the number one core value, actually. If you don't embody this, sorry. Not sorry. We can't accept your application. It is the fundamental truth of how our team of 22 improv professionals work together, play together. It's how we interact with our clients. It's how we interact with our partners. It's how we interact on social media. Okay. It is the positive house that we stand on. And I'm going to tell you straight up, speaking of social media, this is just a fun fact for you. I literally yes and so much on social media, so much so that when I post something, I go to some of my favorite content creators first to give them a little bit of love and comment so that yes and can come back to me. And I will tell you, I've had a few things on social go viral recently, and I've had some no becausers on my Instagram comment section. And you know what they get? A block and bless. Okay, straight up block and bless, which is thank you so much for the negativity, but it is not allowed in this house. I would not open my door and let negative Nancy in, so I'm not going to let you on my feed. Peace, one love, bless up. Anyway, that was not part of my notes for today. It just felt like you needed to hear it. So let's get back to Lisa's question. How can you make these sessions, these brainstorming sessions, or even meetings feel more inclusive? How can you make people feel seen, heard, and valued so they want to speak up and share ideas? So here is your 5-step action plan. All right. You are going to number 1, set the stage. You're going to explain to your team that you are going to do the meeting and the brainstorming session that follows very different today. Step 2, you're going to appoint one person from the team, and this cannot be you, the leader. Pick somebody else. Point one person on the team as the chief yes and officer. Sounds cheesy, but you'll see why in a minute. This person is going to make sure that all the ideas that are shared are yes anded. And then you're going to pick one other person who's going to be the scribe. And this person is jotting down all of the ideas, preferably on a whiteboard so everybody can see it. Or if you have a projector and a screen, they're typing that out so everybody can see what's being written. Okay, so the chief yes and officer sets a timer. And a good idea of time is 5 minutes, because if you go longer than 5, I see that you typically tend to overthink, overanalyze, judge yourself, and then start judging others. So 5 minutes is a great idea to put a timer on and make sure all ideas are fresh, innovative, and no one is overthinking or overjudging. Now, step 3, someone will throw out the first idea, and then after that, another team member will throw out an idea by using yes and. So here's an example. You and your team are brainstorming your next team retreat, and you need to come up with a location. And Susan on your team says, okay, let's go to Austin, Texas. And although everybody on the team hates being sweaty and is automatically sweating because Austin is so unbelievably hot, Chad responds with yes. And let's go to upstate Maine. Now, this continues. And then we've got Bobby going, yes, and let's go to Chicago. Yes, and let's go to Charleston, South Carolina. Yeah. And so it keeps just building from there. Sometimes the ideas get pretty pie in the sky because the momentum is building. And that's the point. You want people to be excited. You want the energy to be high. You want the volume of a room at a 10 because everybody is vibing. Right? You want that vibe set. So the scribe jots down all of the ideas. This is step 4. While the chief yes and officer is making sure that no idea is negated and all ideas are heard. So if, in that example I just gave, Susan said, let's go to Austin, Texas, and Chad automatically says, no, Austin is so hot. Chief yes and officer looks at Chad and says, yes and Chad. And Chad has to yes and, how about upstate Maine? So that is that chief yes and officer's job to make sure no ideas are negated and all are heard. Now, when that timer goes off, after 5 minutes, the chief yes and officer looks for patterns and themes. This is going to be their job, and you as the leader can help guide them, but this is going to be a really ownership moment for them. You want them to take pride in this, and you're going to change up who the chief yes and officer is every time you have a meeting, okay? So it's like this, all right? We have all of these different themes, and over the course of the 5 minutes, we got 4 different themes of locations. Let's see, we got the Southeast, we've got the Midwest, we've got the Northeast, and the Southwest. The chief yes and officer would look for patterns and then draw 4 different buckets. I said, like you know what I'm doing, but you're not in my brain. So they would write Southeast, Midwest, Northeast, and Southwest. And then all of the locations for the Southeast would go under that Southeast bucket. Midwest would have under the Midwest bucket, all the locations in Northeast under the Northeast bucket, and all the locations in the Southwest under the Southwest bucket. So now, while they're thinking about this retreat, they're saying, okay, we could go Southeast, Midwest, Northeast, and Southwest. I'm giving you a hypothetical example here, but main point is you brainstorm as many ideas as possible, and then you use patterns or themes to pull things into buckets. And this is the chief yes and officer's job to put these themes together. Step 5. The team will then vote for their top choice, and they will just pick one. The bucket with the most votes wins. So let's say you do heads up, 7 up, like we did back in the day. You close your eyes. Okay, all hands who want to go to the Southeast, raise your hand. All hands who want to go to the Midwest, raise your hand. All to the Northeast and Southwest, raise your hand. And you pick the theme that has the most votes. From there, let's say the team picked the Southeast. You would then narrow it down again by voting on the city and the Southeast. Now, that was step 5, voting. Step 6, the initial brainstorm, no matter what you're brainstorming, is going to allow everybody to feel seen and heard. And even if their idea is not chosen, they will feel celebrated, not negated. Their vote helped this mass consensus, and everyone felt a part of the solution. How freaking cool is that? How freaking cool is that? So let me repeat these back for you. Step 1, you're going to set the stage. Let the team know we're going to do something different. Got it from this really wacky podcast host named Erin Diehl from the Improve It podcast. It's all about yes-anding your team. She said it's worked for teams in the Fortune 500, Fortune 100, small mom and pop shops and beyond. Let's give it a whirl. Step 2. Before the meeting, appoint a chief yes and officer and a scribe. Let them know before the meeting, hey, I want to give you a shot today to really take the team through this exercise, and I'm going to guide you through it. Will you be our chief yes and officer? Hey, Judy, will you be our scribe? Cool. All right, that's step 2. Step 3, you're going to brainstorm whatever the problem is using yes and. If somebody says yes, but if somebody forgets yes and, chief yes and officer is saying, nope, yes and, with a smile on their face. What happens is when people start to yes and, it automatically brings a smile to their face. It brings joy to the room. People who typically might not speak up are like, wow, there's like no downside to this. I'm not going to get a no, so let me share an idea. And you never know. It might be that person who never shared an idea that gets to the top, and everyone votes and everybody is excited and celebrates that one person who never spoke up using this activity. But let me go back to your steps. Step 1, set the stage. Step 2, appoint your chief yes and scribe, and set the timer for your brainstorm. 5 minutes is what I would generally allocate. It's going to take longer to put things into themes and vote, but 5 minutes of yes and brainstorming is more than enough, because I guarantee you will come up with more than those 5 minutes than you would in an hour Zoom where nobody is getting anywhere. The room is stiff as a board, light as a feather, and everybody is just zoning out because everybody's afraid to speak up. Step 3, you're going to brainstorm ideas with yes and. That chief yes and officer is on that. Every single person talking must use yes and to share an idea, and that yes and is supporting the idea before them. Step 4, you're looking for patterns and themes, and that's that chief yes and officer's the chief yes and officer's job to put the themes into buckets and to help break down all of the wonderful brainstorming that took place. Step 5, you're going to vote to narrow down and vote again if needed so that you come up with one solution. And this one solution was a consensus from the room. It had shared input. It had energy behind it. It had momentum. It had joy. It had, dare I say, fun at work. I cannot tell you how many times I've used this. I am super lucky that the space I surround myself with, improvisers, Improve It, my family, we're pretty much all yes-anders all day long. And I have been a part of many associations, not going to name names, but I've been part of one in particular where I was very heavily involved, and I had to pull this out in the second meeting I was in because the first one was so painful. And I was like, honestly, we got nowhere. We have 1 hour. We all have full-time jobs and we're volunteering our time to be here. Can we please try this? And let me tell you what, that activity, I said, take it, run with it, use it forever. They still do it to this day because they need it. This helps people check their egos. No ego, amigo. It helps people allow themselves to show up fully because there's no fear of rejection. It allows them to, when they share their idea, be like, wow, people actually heard me. Okay, maybe I could do that again. And here's just blanket statement. Take this to your CEO, your C-suite. If they're ever questioning, here's what happens. When people feel like they're seen, heard, and valued, they want to show up. When people want to show up, what happens to your productivity? Oh, it goes through the roof. Once you hit that productivity threshold, things are climbing. Who's thriving? You and the organization. Hits that bottom line. What does that C-suite want to know? How's it hit my bottom line? That's it. Productivity at its finest, because you're allowing people to feel like human beings, not human doings. Wow. Again, I am just on a soapbox here today, but I feel so passionately about it. And I know that this has the ability to help your team. So Lisa from Chicago, thank you for submitting this question. I know that yes and this brainstorming can help with your question of how do I remove that awkward silence in the room? How do I get ideas generated versus getting them shot down quickly? Take it, use it today. I know this is effective with teams. As I mentioned, it's so effective with associations. It's effective with families. Like if you're planning your family trip and you got 6 people in the family, all very opinionated, try this. Try it. We also use this activity at Improve It in so many of our workshops. Our team building one specifically, our effective communication workshop. We have this yes and an application of it. We actually do brainstorming in our taking initiative and creative risks workshops. Our workshops are 1.5 hours or 90 minutes virtually, and they can host up to 50 people. And our 2-hour in-person workshops can host up to 100. We go all over the world, all over the US. Would love to talk to you about coming to your organization. It is so effective. It's so experiential. So if you have questions, want to learn more, go to our website, learntoimproveit.com. It will be in the show notes. And last, my friends, I have one ask for you. If you could yes and this show for me by leaving a review, it would mean the honest to goodness world. We've had so many amazing guests on this show. So many. And do you want to know how they know that the show has this amazing audience? It's your reviews. So I've had people from Kim Scott, the author of Radical Candor, to Chris Voss, one of the FBI negotiators, most famous FBI negotiator in the world, to other thought leaders in this personal space, but also professional space. My goal is to bring on the highest level of thought leadership to this show possible. So if you could yes and this show by leaving a 5-star review on iTunes, you just go to the bottom of iTunes, click 5 stars, write a comment if you want. It would mean the absolute world. Please share the show. And if you have a question, jump on our Speak Pipe. It's literally a very cool app. We have a link for it in the show notes. It'll just take you to a little page on our website. You hit record. Your voice note goes directly to our email, and we will use that sound clip to give our audience more questions and answers, because all you Improve It peeps are the same people. You care deeply for the world. You want to leave it better than you got here, and you want to help those around you be the best versions of themselves possible. So ask your cues, show up as you are, and know I want you to keep failing, keep improving, because this world needs that very special it that only you can bring. I'll see you next time. Improve it. Improve It Podcast.